right, guys. Welcome back to the Gentleman's Standard. Today, we're talking relationships. I'm Yor-El Francis.
I'm Cecil, and we are honored to have an esteemed guest who I've known for some time. I'm honored to call friend, author, relationship coach, entrepreneur, and corporate exec, Elam King. Welcome.
Too many titles.
Welcome.
All that.
I wanted to give you the formal layout as you said it to me.
Appreciate it. That is, I guess I do. Right?
So, welcome to the Gentleman's Standard, and Elam, we just want to ask you, what is your Gentleman's Standard?
You got an hour?
We're all ears.
My gentleman's standard, I guess it's like there's not one silver bullet.
Absolutely.
You know, the grounding for me is spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a believer. So it starts there.
Mm-hmm.
So how I talk to people, how I treat people, and from a biblical perspective, as much as possible. A bad word might slip every now and then, but I mean,
every now and then.
But it's funny. I actually have a T-shirt that I got the other day that says I say bad words. so bad. But anyway, it would start there from a spiritual perspective. That's the foundation. I would say thereafter would be probably my upbringing. My parents, my dad was an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
My mom was a school teacher.
Okay.
So how we spoke, grammar, my mom was very, very serious about that. So we were, from vocabulary and all that. And then how to treat a person probably came more from my dad as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say if I had to start somewhere, it would be spiritual. And then my parents, still married 56 years right now. And they still dropping nuggets periodically.
And we build on that foundation.
Yes.
That's really the core of what we talk about, purpose.
Right.
And it starts with the foundation. That's actually how we started this podcast.
And purpose was the next space, but I didn't want to make my answer too long. But my favorite Bible verse is Romans 8:28. I believe that verse outlines really how your life can go. Because it says all things work to the good to those who love God and are called by his purpose. So it's giving you instructions. It's saying not everything's going to feel good, but it's going to work to the good if you go with this foundation, love God, walk in purpose. That's if you did that right, if you did that verse, not like you're not going to get a headache or whatever case may be, things aren't going to happen in your life, but when things happen, why it's happening, and it's for a reason, because the Bible doesn't lie, and it says all things work to the good.
Mm-hmm.
So the verse tells you, all right, it's not gonna feel good, but if you love God and walk in your purpose, boom.
That's a lane question.
It just seems that as we continue these conversations, and now we're bringing in guests, the key we've found to just building a strong standard is starting with that seed.
Mm-hmm.
And then just using that in your day-to-day life as you build your purpose, as you build your direction, as you build your course, mm-hmm. to get you to where you need to be.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to have a foundation somewhere. And listen, everybody that's watching this might not be a believer. My brother's Muslim, you could be Jewish, you could be anything, right? Whatever your foundation is, start there. I do relationship coaching, as you were sharing earlier. And so I don't talk to all Christians. I talk to multiple other, cultures and things of that nature. And so I always start there with them, even though I can't speak whatever is in the Quran, mm-hmm. or whatever is in different places. But I say, I make sure that they have that foundation, because a lot of times when our life is because our Creator's trying to point us back in the right direction. Mm-hmm. So if we're not having that conversation with that entity, for me, it's God. Mm-hmm. If I'm not talking to God, I can see the shifts, right? And he's like, hey, come on back over here. So again, we have to start somewhere. I think that's one of the painful things that I do watch, whether it's social media. I have a 25-year-old, right? So I've recently pumped somebody out that's been in high school, middle school. And a lot of times you could see in conversations that I would hear, with friends, with his friends, stuff like that, like, we're the ones over here with structure. It doesn't have to be like that. Things can be, fluid. Okay, fluid. You're going to fluid yourself right on out of your life, because where's your foundation? you know. And so, as you know, the one thing I think our, you know, whether it's baby boomers and X's and Y, we were given more of a foundation. Now it's like you can just do whatever wherever, and there's no foundation anywhere inside of a marriage, inside of relationships, inside of jobs. You know, coming here, I just found out the corporation that I was at that they shut down DEI in December.
Mhm.
Like, you're just watching certain things. Like, people don't even have a standard. Like, you just slapped us in the face. You straight up slapped everybody in the face. Why? Because you have no foundation.
Mhm.
So
Those turn into those principles for a lot of companies turn into hobbies.
I mean, I just find literally, I'm 10 minutes old. Find that I was like, what? Okay, I didn't even know it was gone.
You know, and it's funny because I love to ask your perspective on this question. When we talk about standards and how you kind of laid that out, I think this question is apropos. Were there defining moments that challenged those standards, and what did you do about them?
Oh man, just so many that come into mind. But I'm gonna tell you, um, a defining moment for me, I can go to when I was just saying that I was a relationship coach,
Sure.
and so I'm a strong 3 weeks married right now.
Congratulations.
Tomorrow.
That's awesome.
And so, but prior to that, I got divorced after 19 years,
Gotcha.
and so let's look at this.
Mhm.
I help people to be in a relationship.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
And I struggled inside of my own.
Mhm.
And so when the divorce was coming to, when I'm maybe about a year or two out from it, I remember saying, I'm done. Like, I'm done with this. There's no way that I can do. How can I stand in front of people and talk to people? So it's called the imposter syndrome.
Mhm.
Whereas you think you're not good enough for what you're doing. And so I went to my pastor. I went to our counselor, who's also a pastor as well. So went from my bishop to my pastor to my business manager to my another. I went to like all five of my mentors,
Mm.
and 100% of them said, "You better stay right there." And that was the toughest thing for me because in the past, I've been accused of being a little bit extra confident about. Some people call it arrogance, but I am the newt, but still, ain't nothing to do it. But over time, life is humbled a little bit, right? And so, but it was very difficult. So I say that to say that you would think, like, because I am really good at what I do from a relationship coaching perspective. God gave me this talent. So, but for the first time, I was like, I'm not good enough. And I struggled, and everybody around me, including to everybody's like, no, stay right in. And I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
And it took a minute for me to bring it to your question. I was challenged in that moment because it's kind of like I just told you Romans 8:28, right? All things work to the good. So I'm sitting up here like, well, all things work to the good, right? Well, in that moment, that verse, I didn't want to hear that verse. It was kind of like, but reality wise, why is somebody going to talk to the guy that's divorced? It doesn't make any sense. But then it makes perfect sense when you look in the Bible and you see the people that God has chosen for different. I mean, Moses had a stuttering problem and had an anger problem, but you have to lead all these people to the promised land. It doesn't really make any. Why would you pick that person? Right? Yeah, I mean, I don't, let me keep going, but
we call that the drift.
Mhm.
And we went down the rabbit hole, and what we found out was that sometimes we are walking around with the mistakes that we're still carrying.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we haven't gotten to that place where we've forgiven ourselves.
I was in my head, I was like, forgiveness. And that was something. I'm glad you said that. That's what I had to do.
Yeah.
And I didn't know I had to do it. Right. Divorce carries the same line as death. If you look up, the phases that you go through with divorce is the same ones as death, because you're dying and being basically reborn.
Rebirth.
Right.
Mhm.
So there's an anger phase, there's a bargaining phase. If I could have done this better, if I could, that's the same thing in death. Well, maybe if I had done this for the person, maybe they still be here. Or sometimes we get angry when somebody dies, right? But the last phase is acceptance. Inside of that acceptance is forgiveness to yourself of whatever you did or did not do. And that was something I had to sit at night and think about, and then become okay with. And that was very, very tough because the bargaining for me was, if I, I've never lost
Yeah, it becomes
big,
a sense of
never.
pride. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
ever in my, I've never lost big, games, basketball. But yeah, I'm talking about big.
Yeah.
I went to this college that I wanted to go to. Right out of college, I stumbled into a great job, in telecom, MCI. You got to be a certain age in order to know MCI.
Sure. Sure.
As a company going. But anyway, so so the steps in life, and then got married, and then had the house, and then had the bigger house, and then so it's like I'm winning on these fronts, and here comes boom, a big, and I'm like, I didn't even know how to lose.
Yeah.
And so because I had never done it. So to that level. And so to do that and then at the same time be humbled because I've chosen a path, my relationship coaching, I love it.
Mhm.
So to even say I don't want to do it anymore, it hurt to say that because one day this really arrogant, selfish guy wanted to start helping people. Like, it doesn't make any sense. One of my line brothers, we didn't talk for years, and he used to always say, "Yo, you're so selfish." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? I'm not a selfish guy. What are you talking about?" When I looked back, oh, yes, you were in your 20s and 30s and how I did certain things. And so for me to move to a space where I want to actually help people.
Sure.
And then now I don't want to do it because I don't feel good enough because I haven't forgiven myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so the moment that I forgave myself, it was like, one of the logos that you see is for me is a light bulb.
Mm-hmm.
Because I say that when people talk to me, eventually a light bulb is going to go off. Well, mine went off. Forgive yourself.
See, like powerful. My question to you, building off of the point you just made, it's obvious people have poured into you for that type of transformation and that awareness that you have. To say you went from being a selfish individual back in the day, which a lot of us can attribute to the same thing that we were learning and growing and all of that, to where I'm trying to pour into people that deem it important.
Right.
And how dare you consider not doing that
Right.
from that standpoint? We always ask people the question of what you have pretty strong standards you set for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The easiest thing when we ask, well, who helped you? Who gave you the blueprint to that? We always go our fathers or our uncles. Or outside of that group, though,
right?
Who's poured into you to establish that you leverage as a blueprint to develop the standards as to where they are today that you take pride in?
It's different stages along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that, and this is just a cheat code real quickly.
Mm-hmm.
If I had known one of the cheat codes in life was to get a mentor, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I would have figured life out so much faster. So I just want to drop that. But I didn't figure out to even possibly do that until my early 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And because I got into network marketing. And so you kind of have to have a coach, Actually, no, I'm going to back up. I was actually fortunate. When I first started working at MC, I was working in a call center. And so every day, if I gave the fast version, we were the people calling your house, giving you 5 cents a minute, right? So
it was a phone company.
Yeah. Okay. So
Like 5 cents.
Y'all remember 5 cents a minute, $4.95? Man, listen, 1-800-COLLECT, all that was MCI stuff. But anyway, so every day, immediately out of college, within 4 months, so I'm 21 years old. I had to lead a team of 16 every day to call people's houses.
Mm-hmm.
Every day from 3 o'clock to 11 o'clock.
Wow.
At 21 years old. So fortunately, at the same time, this is back when companies still cared about their employees.
Mm-hmm.
So they would do crazy things like have conferences where they're going to teach you stuff to make you a better person.
Right.
So I was getting Cal Lamone training, Zig Ziglar, fish training, learning how to retain people, right? So, John Maxwell, the 17 laws of leadership, the failing forward, I forgot the number, the 21 or the 17 indispensable qualities of a leader. I'm 21 years old getting this information. So I'm a baby. So as I learned then to how to lead people, because I had to get you on them phones every day. And these are people that are, from walks of life that are not that, call center people.
Yeah.
That's a different type of person. Half my team was high every day. And I had to teach them, I had to motivate them and inspire them to do this job to get these 100 people to say yes every day. Okay. So I had my coach at that time, it was a team of us, we were called Game Time. And so the leader of that team, his name was Jareed Hall.
Mhm.
So he was somebody that I looked up to. He played sports a lot. So he coached us in a manner that how he learned from so, and we were the best team in the whole, it was 400 people in that building. And our system, which was 120 people, normally you had to rival us all the time. So I'm getting this again. I'm 21, 22, 23, 24 years old, being coached and fed books from a company that's investing into us. So that was probably when I began to understand a little bit, okay, mentorship, but then went off into life and I forgot a lot of stuff. And then when I got into network marketing, then, you got people who are going to coach you then. So, my man, Lanier Price, who started being a coach for me, trying to help me. I'm trying to just get this money. You know what I'm saying? So, but then at the same time, he was giving me books to read, right? So, Outwitting the Devil was one of the best books that he ever gave me. Outwitting the Devil was about Napoleon Hill. Everybody knows Think and Grow Rich, right? So I'd say this book is greater than that book. I'd say in my life, it goes like this: the Bible, Outwitting the Devil. Every single person I've ever told about that book, they come back like, yo, I'm like, I know. By the time you get to chapter 5 or 6, you're gonna be like, yo. But anyway, I'm dipping off. So just as I got Lanier, my bestie female friend Adrienne Bell, she has seen me over everything, knows where all the dead bodies are. She's done a lot of coaching with me. This is the reason why I became an author. One day she was like, Elam, you need to write a book. I was like, ain't nobody reading no book from me. I'm the one that I cheated on my wife. I had outside kids. Nobody wants to talk to me. She said, no, Elam, you're the exact person that people wanted to. And I was just like, that doesn't make any sense. But this is like 12, 13, but a little bit over 12 years ago. So now I understand. But at that time, I was like, huh? So, if I could go on this, I mean, right now, Jay Barnett is my mentor as well. And so he's constantly, just pouring into me. You'll find him online a lot in different areas. But he is constantly, fine tuning me in certain things. I mean, one of the first things he said to me was, don't ever let me catch you arguing with people on social media. He's mentored by TD Jakes. TD Jakes told him that. And I was just like, I began to realize, I got this relationship knowledge, and sometimes people sound really stupid, right? They sound real dumb, right? And so I'm humble enough to be like, you really can't even handle my answer. And then also what God has given me as this talent, we have to also understand we can't waste it. Right. So sometimes we might go and move and make moves, or I might even speak, and God's like, I had that. Why are you talking? This is not you right now. So I understand that I have to know how to speak and when to speak too. So, that comes from an ongoing coaching from my bishop. Right. I'm that person that stays up in church because I have to. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know that inside of our flesh exists no good thing. So if I stay away from God too long, bad feels good. Nobody likes to say that out loud. But bad feels good. So most things that are bad for you, they taste amazing, right? But they're bad for you. So if you know that you could go left, I gotta have somebody like, yo, like I call him my spiritual father for real. Cause I'm like, yo, I'll call him like, listen, I have had to call him and be like, I'm about to make a bad move. This is before I was married, obviously. and like, listen. And he had to talk me off the ledge. I knew I had to call somebody. You see what I'm saying? So some people aren't honest with themselves about whatever their thing is that they, because that's what steers you away from your purpose and where God really has you to go. So if I can keep this off, I can go maximize purpose and help people.
The one of the things that's so powerful, I'm hoping that the folks that are listening point is the importance of establishing a strong mentor relationship. Some folks are struggling. Some of the folks that reach out to me, I get a lot of people asking me to be their mentor. And that's the first conversation they've had with me is, hey, I don't know you from Adam, but can you be my mentor?
Right.
And it's like, there's steps to this. And what I do is I try to educate them on how do you convince me to be your mentor, which is advocacy at first. I'm sorry, not advocacy. I'm sorry. Creating a conversation as from an advisor-based perspective. Then you get the mentor, and you get the advocacy. Meaning, we have to have a conversation where I get to know you,
right,
to see if I want to pour and invest in you, because I need to understand that you're going to actually take that and do something with it.
right.
We spend a lot of time with individuals who say they want a mentor, and all they really want to do is connect with somebody that works at a company. And there's a strong difference between that. So I love that you recognize that at such an early age.
I mean, I'd say a piece of it, yes and no, because I recognized it at an early age, but then I lost it. And I didn't get it back until my 30s. So like early 20s, I had it like, yo, mentors, they're gonna pull you along. Yeah. Then this life thing happened. Sure. and then all of a sudden I'm, fast forwarding another 7-8 years before I'm like, the reading thing, the personal development thing. And when I heard somebody say that your bank account moves at the same rate as your personal development, that's all you had to tell me. Now you look at my Audible app, it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, so the better I get, the more money I can make. You see what I'm saying? So people, that's a nugget right there. The better you get, the more money you make. It's not about going and finding somebody that can give you something. Save yourself. Go become better. Here's the thing, because it's kind of like, I don't know if anybody, y'all know Orange Theory, right?
Yes.
Okay, one of the reasons why I love Orange Theory is because no matter who is in there, it's you against you. You look up on that board, you see red, orange, green, whatever, right? But at the end of the day, it's taking your heart rate, your weight, what you're doing, and pumping out a number saying, all right, you're in the blue, you ain't even working hard, bro. Now you could be over there sweating bullets and you might be in the red, or you could be in the blue. You see what I'm saying? So it's not me against you, it's for you. So that's the same thing in your life. It's really you against you. So the moment again that I started figuring stuff like that out, I'm like, okay, because like you look real deep in from a mentor perspective, right? Mine came like me, for Jay, he was a guest on like my very first panel that I ever had in Atlanta, right? So and somebody suggested him to me, and I was like, then we just caught a friendship after that. And then he got his doctorate in clinical, I wouldn't say the right, clinical therapy and whatnot. So, and which is a unicorn for a Black man, right? So now you're in the mentorship area. You're in the area where you're able to actually look at people and dissect them, right? Yeah. And so I'm like, wow, along the lines, I'm starting to think to myself, maybe psychology, I like the way people think. That'll help me help people more. So God put someone around me that was in a space that I'm like, okay, he's where I want to be, right? And so then at this point, we already have a friendship. So one day I was just like, yo, I want you to mentor me. So at this point, we know each other now.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? So it's not fake like some old company I'm trying to move up the thing. I'm like, dog, we already been cool for like the past 4-5 years. And you where I'm at. Yeah. So why am I not going to, I know how this works, right? The great thing is that we already cool. Yep. So that's what I say that to say that in your presence right now, if you don't have a mentor, I bet you have one around you. You just don't know it. You just haven't looked, right? But once you start looking, it's just like the same thing for a vehicle. You ever wanted to buy a car, and the moment you said you wanted to buy a specific car, you start seeing that car on the road. I didn't grow up with you. Why are you agreeing with me right now? The reason why that's the truth for everybody is because the way God designed us is that once you make a decision of where you want to go, your brain starts to look for everything that looks like where you want to go. So I want a Maserati. I'm going to have one. When I get on the road, that's all I see is a Maserati. Saw 4 of them on the way here. I don't know. You can't tell me no other car.
What's a Maserati?
But there was Hondas, there was Hyundais, there was all. but I only remember that car all the way here. So that's the same thing in your life. Once you make a decision, God loved us enough to say, hey, I'm going to give you the opportunity of making a decision. And the moment you do, I'm going to start pointing you towards it. And I'm going to start putting the people around you because I love you. And guess what? Some of us are not moving in that direction. He's still got the people around us. If we just start looking of where we want to go, we're going to be, oh, resource. Oh, but we're not making that decision to do that. So, we can start there. If you don't even have a mentor, just start thinking about how can you become a better you. And as you do that, God's going to be like, okay, there, bing. You know what I'm saying? Like, call your cousin and say hi. And when you do, they're going to be telling you they're doing something that you already want to do.
Which is where we are right now.
There you go. I mean, case in point. Look at that. Oh, wow.
So I'm curious. After you forgave yourself, what were the steps what were the building blocks to get you back on your path to your purpose and returning to your values?
There's no silver bullet here.
Of course not.
Combination of things,
yeah.
right? So even to go into the forgiveness was me understanding how God forgave us for everything, right? And he doesn't want us walking around saying, I shouldn't have done this, I shouldn't have done that. So it's first understanding that grounding, right? So that's the first piece. So I'm like, okay, so I'm actually supposed to forgive myself. So this is what I'm supposed to do.
That's the
so let's start
Eureka moment.
So now I got to figure out how to do it. But first of all, that lets you say it's okay to do it, because some people are not okay with forgiving themselves because maybe they did something so bad. Maybe you were the reason why for the demise. Maybe you cheated on the person and then you got the divorce, right? So it's your fault, person. Now that wasn't me, but I'm just saying. So they're like, can I forgive myself for that? I broke my family up. My kids are so mad, right? Yeah. This is what really exists because I talk to these people, right? Or maybe your money got really bad. The second reason for divorce is finances. Maybe you lost a job. Money will cause a divorce. So now it's hard for you to forgive yourself because you broke up the family because you lost the job. You see what I'm saying? So we can go in different scenarios. So whatever yours is, you say, okay, what can I learn from this situation? Because the only reason why that I'm sitting here is because I had to go through what I went through. So it was for a reason. So I had to take that cross, because we all got a cross, right? Yes. I had to take that cross, bear it, and then say, let me help somebody not make a bad decision like me, right? So once you do that, then you're like, these are all the parts of forgiving, because you're like, oh, so that was for a reason. So once you say, okay, I'm supposed to forgive myself, oh, it was for a reason. Okay. So now you're starting to feel better. Like I don't feel good about everything I went through, emotionally, in my marriage and with relationships. But I sometimes say, oh, that's why that happened. So now I see a reason for it. So now, and this is particularly, I want to say this loud to people who get into, anxiety issues and want to actually, commit suicide and things of that nature. This is how you won't kill yourself. Because you're going to realize whatever happened, it was for a reason. The reason wasn't for me to end my life. The reason was for God's trying to show me something. Sure. And it hurts. My situation is not even as bad as maybe other people's, right? But Romans 8:28, all things work to the good. So whatever you're going through is applicable for you too. So again, here comes forgiveness. So if all things work to the good, I see that this was supposed to happen, and I know I'm supposed to forgive myself. Now you start walking in a better way. You don't hold your head down. Now you I went through this for a reason. You have something to say about what I went through? Great. I'm comfortable with what I went through. We know what I went through. What did you go through? Can you put yours out? Because we all have been through some things. You see what I'm saying? So that's why sometimes, and I hope saying this tongue in cheek, but I mean it, right? Okay, so you got Puffy in jail for what he did, right? And so after we talk about you shouldn't have had this party, right? Like that was that man's cross.
Sure.
We see his. What yours look like? Yeah. If we turn the camera Because we can you can read about mine, so mine's out there too. So I put myself out there. So if Puffy out there and then little old regular me out there, what'd you do?
Yeah.
Right? While you judging, what you been through?
Yeah.
Right? And it's okay if you have been through something, because I forgave myself. Have you forgiven yourself for what you've even been through? Because that's probably the reason why that you have a problem with what other people go through. So I can forgive him from a distance of saying, you know what? Because I've been through something and I want a forgiveness. Even as bad as that is, I can say, okay, I know that man deserves forgiveness too. Again, from a biblical perspective, I'm operating the way I should, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I guess it was going to be one of us. Go ahead. All right. But, you know, yeah, that's.
Getting to the bottom of, the barrel is not a comfortable thing. It's not noble either, but sometimes it's just where you got to be. You just got to claw your way back up. And if it's through faith or belief or whatever system of beliefs you got in, I think that's the key and the core to like building those rungs that help you like climb back up.
Right.
Can I, so to your point around forgiveness, and we're talking to individuals who are looking for something, and trying to be a better version of themselves. And our whole goal here is to help give men the tips and tactics they need to be gentlemen from that standpoint. My question is, when you go down path on that, what are standards you think are important that young men or even men of a certain age should establish before entering relationships that you think are non-negotiables?
I mean, I think I've hit the spiritual buttons as much as possible. So you know that's a foundation. Right after that is, watch this, learning to love yourself.
Because how can you love someone else if you don't love yourself?
Let's start there. Now, that was something that I didn't know that I wasn't doing. I didn't love me. And if you asked anybody that's known me, they'll be like, oh no, Elam, yeah, he all about, like I said, I've been called arrogant and stuff like that in the past. So you would never think. But if you sit down and really ask yourself, look at the decisions that you've made. All right. Are you really loving yourself? Are you maximizing loving yourself? Because watch this. It hit me until my 30s before I began to walk in purpose. So what was I doing all that before? Was I really loving myself? Because if I'm trying to maximize, if you love yourself, you're trying to maximize yourself, right? I wasn't even working towards maximizing myself. I didn't even know. We're at this space right here. I wasn't thinking about talking to people, helping people, relationship. I wasn't thinking about that. Psychology. I wasn't thinking about none of that. How can I get this money? You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So, which we all know, you don't chase the money. But so loving yourself allows you to make the better decisions. Because I started looking at my decisions and I was just like, if I really loved myself, would I have put myself in this situation? Right? So it'll make, when you choose a partner, if you love yourself, then you know what you deserve and what you need. Right? And you know what's non-negotiable inside of that space for you. You won't compromise it. I compromised because I didn't maximize loving me, which means that I'm now making bad choices. See what I'm saying? So these choices are going to have consequences. But if you love yourself, loving myself has made me say, I'm not going to drink that. I'm not going to hook up with that one. I love myself enough to say, you know what I have is a good thing. Right? So that's hard when you've never thought like that before. Right? So if you love yourself, you're going to make better decisions, right? So if you got God behind you, now you love yourself, right? Now you can make the right decision for what partner you're going to choose, right? Because you know what matches you, right?
What matches you?
You know what matches you, right? Because you don't have to be the same person, but you know what matches. She's amazing with money, okay? She's really, really good with it. And I'm really good at just spending it. You know what I'm saying? So she's put me in line so good in that area. Like I wasn't financial advising. I wasn't even thinking. So I'm looking at her, and quite frankly, I was making more than her. But she always had way more. And I'm like, this doesn't even match. Like, it's gotta be me. Right? So I'm like, I match myself with somebody like, dang, I don't need to be with a spender. Because this is not gonna work. Yeah. So this is something, I'm saying it candidly, but I'm for real. I knew my weaknesses. Right? So I knew how detail oriented she is. I am seat of the pants. I don't need another seat of the pants person. I need somebody to be like, hold on, let's get this Excel spreadsheet out. And I'm sitting there huffing and puffing, but then I'm like, oh, that was dope.
So by loving yourself, you're able to identify the missing match that's needed for a good relationship. That's actually
and I think that a lot of times people think that it's a website or an app or let me go to this place, let me go to that place. Let me give you, if you want to be in a relationship, if you want to be married, and if you don't want to, just please shut this off right now. I'm gonna make you mad, right? So if you want to be in a relationship, maximize the relationship that you have with you. If you're not running at the max, if you're not loving yourself, if you're not personally developing and making yourself better, do you really deserve to link up with somebody else? Because that means you're holding them down. You don't even love them enough to become a better person to help make them their life better. I love her. I love me, right? So you have a desire then to become a better person so that person can, it's like, let me put it to you like this. If you want to maximize your relationship, become a better person. Because then the other person becomes a better person. Now look at that. Look how that works, right? We always say, nah, you should do this. Become a better person. If your spouse, if your significant other right now is getting on your nerves, but you love them, you're going to stay there, right? You ain't going nowhere. After you finish complaining, you ain't going nowhere. If you want them to become better, become a better person.
Well, that sounds like a great place to end the episode.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's tough. It's tough to do it because it's ongoing. How about that? Because you always know that you got to, I'm not where I need to be.
Sure.
So that allows me to give her grace. Now you're giving grace. Now you're allowing people to mess up because you know you're messing up. Simply because you know what? I didn't do this right. So when she don't do something right, it's not fire and brimstone. It's like, okay, all right. It might stop a couple of arguments. It might stop all of them, right? But at least it'll give you an opportunity. Okay, you want your relationship to grow the relationship that you have with yourself.
All right.
So one question.
I hope I stayed on topic there.
No, you did. You nailed it.
I can't really see her eyes of when I should stop talking because of that light. So it's messing me up. So I'm going off the top of my head of, she said, shut up, go to the next question.
She's doing really well.
My question is, you've given some gems, guys looking to be poured into. My question would be to you is, as an entrepreneur who's hiring people, what are the standards you're looking for in an individual that you would consider joining your team outside of personal relationships? From that standpoint, somebody that's coming in, what are you looking for around how their standards should shine to you? What advice would you give?
Well, wow, okay, how theirs should shine to you. Okay, so for myself, I have an in-home healthcare agency, right? So I hire registered nurses, nurse practitioners. So these individuals have and LPNs as well. So these individuals have to come to me with these credentials. So I start there. You have to be credentialed, right? And after that, it's what type of care can you give, right? And so you don't pick that role unless it's a caregiving role. So it's stupid. You don't be a nurse if you're not going to work with people. So then it's, so my standard is just having, having the credentials and then having the care for your client, for the patients. And then I'm going to hear that feedback. So I also, your background check and things of that nature. So taking a look at that as well. So mine might be a little bit more structured, versus some of the soft skills that some people might need inside of certain roles that they're looking for. Mine isn't as soft. I don't think.
How if you had 3 individuals that all matched from all those criteria you just pulled in play, the one thing that seems a little soft is the care element, because that's you looking and saying, this person's going to care more than the other 2.
Right.
How do they differentiate themselves to you in that space? What do you sense that gives them the leg up if an individual's trying to build that up?
I had a word, but it would have been so mean to say it.
And does presentation matter?
Yeah, you could be a dummy, and when I say that, I mean like your common sense areas. And if I'm getting feedback from the parent of certain things that you did and didn't do, I'm like, that's not even teachable. Like, you didn't know that the diaper shouldn't have been just left out on the counter.
Sure.
Got it. I shouldn't have to tell you that. So stuff like that. Like, that's why I said a dummy. Like, it's kind of like, your common sense areas are not there. So in caregiving, common sense has to come through, right? Of just knowing when to, hold, when to pick up, when to put down. And mostly, all of my clients are children under 1, right? So every nurse has to have a deep level of care. Wow. I have 1 that's 4 years old, but everybody else is less than a year old right now. No, 2. Yeah, so everybody else is less than a year old. So the level of care has to be big, because you're caring for somebody's infant. They just got here like 2 weeks ago. Right. Right. So
let me I'll pull it back to relationships. Same question in this way. How important is your presentation when you're trying to, you've invested in yourself, you've worked to love yourself a little bit more, but now you're out there, you're putting yourself out there for consideration. How important is presentation in that sense? And I don't mean necessarily, are you in the, $1,000 suit or things along those lines where you're out and about, but what feedback will you give to individuals that are trying to make an impression?
I would say this: become what you're looking for. Okay. Whatever you expect, let's make sure that you can present the same thing. That's what I find is one of the biggest mishaps inside of relationships. People are going after something that they don't qualify for. And just because you look good, that don't mean you qualify. Because as we all know, beauty fades, and we care about what? That good old inside, that thing called peace. One day I turned 40 and I said, wait a minute. This peace thing is so important. Nobody ever told me about this peace thing, right? Let me tell you how you get the peace. For those who are not in a relationship, but you aspire to be in one, let me look at y'all. Okay? Become what you're asking for. So then when you get it, you can handle it. We're presenting, even sometimes we present ourselves as if we're a certain type of person, and you're really not that person. I had a person that, she always laughs at this. She used to go to polo events because she was looking for a certain type of guy. You don't even know the rules of polo.
But she just go.
But you want to go because you want a type of guy that's going to be. So I always use that as an example, because I'm like, see what I'm saying? Like, now you get the polo man, not a polo man looking at you like, the way you dressing, the way
not
you talking,
polo is.
the way you're living, it's not polo-y.
It's not polo-y.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not.
Yeah.
right? You don't even own anything. The polo man owns something. You want somebody that owns something? Go own something, right? You want somebody to make a certain type of living? Go become that in your purpose area and go pull that type of money, because now you're going to be in the circle of the people you belong with. A lot of times we have a lot of people who are in the circle with people who they don't belong with, and then you link up because, you know, maybe the sex is good, maybe they got nice teeth, right? Okay, so now y'all get married, right? Now you're going to become what? The person who you are, and they're the person who they are. Do they match? Nope.
Just a person with nice teeth.
Just you know what I'm saying? Why? Because you went for something that you didn't match. So to your answer, your presentation should be based upon who you really are, right? And so then, if you were all being who we really are, now when you meet somebody, you're meeting the real person, right? And now you can also watch this. Real recognizes real, and real recognizes fake. Now you can see the fake people. So now your presentation that's genuine draws in genuine people. That's something else that's happening. Your face doesn't really look like that. Your body, God really didn't give you that. You want to present this to people, but you want an honest man. Your presentation is not even, it's pulling in. So when you pull down the wrong guy, men, you keep pulling in the wrong type of guy because you the wrong type of person. So if you fix you, then you can see. I could see her. The better I got, because we were friends for like 20 years. The better I became, then I could see her and see what I need and the match. That's the biggest joke between us. We were like, we would have never thought, because we was boys. But as came along, I was like, wait a minute. Is she right there? And let me drop that last nugget for men. A lot of times, your friend, the one that's been down for you, the one that you've been cool with, sometimes like your mate is right in front of you. This whole time. You keep reaching. We all have gone down. We've all reached down. It's easy down there. Get in, you can do, it's easy. We reach up because, you know, hey, maybe she a certain class of person. Bruh, let's go here. Where you belong. Right? And really that goes for both sides. Right? But because we do the choosing, bro, choose where you belong. It's so much more peace. The presentation is accidental now. I don't have to be somebody I'm not. I'm gonna be a me. Yeah. You're gonna be a you, and now I'm like, okay, I can get with that.
Well, I think that's a good place for us to end the episode. And be right there.
And so that matches.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and thanks to our guests for being here.
Absolutely.
And we hope you tune in for more.
Elam King.
Hey, thank you guys so much for having me.
Awesome.
Thank you for being here, man.
Too much, I'll find out from her.
Yeah, we will. Our episodes, and we're so excited about starting off season 2, and we're starting off the right way with guests that are bringing you gems to consider, things that are going to look to up and elevate your game, whether it be from a personal-based perspective, professional-based perspective. Our goals are for you to set impactful standards. Thank you for listening.
Stay tuned.
And let me say this real quick. I was told that you can never hear enough from Black men.
I would agree.
And here we are.
You can never hear enough from us.
Well said.
Stay tuned, everybody. All right. Thank you.
You can cut